Wuthering Waves is a gacha game I've been playing a lot for the last 3 weeks now, so I decided to make a video talking about what makes this game good and bad from my personal experience, hopefully answering if this game is worth your time or not. If you're someone that's been keeping up with the game, you might know that it's had a rough day one, arguably week one, arguably 2 weeks. However, because of how frequently the developers are releasing fixes, I have been hopeful that they fix this game sooner rather than later. Not only have they been releasing fixes 24 hours after a problem is found, they've been providing constant compensation for their mistakes, which many of the games I've played before have never done before. There are two things that this game does a very good job on, those being the combat and exploration. There are a lot of smooth combat mechanics that make this game feel good to play, and the exploration of the world is very good, that being extremely complemented by the movement. But while there's a lot of good, there is also a lot of problems with the game in its current state. I personally have been experiencing a lot of random chops where the game will freeze for a short burst of time. Recently, the only other game that I've seen have worse optimization than this has been Dragon's Dogma 2. I don't have a god PC or anything like that, so if you're curious, here are my specs. If you have a better PC than me, you'll probably have less problems, if no problems at all. Hopefully. Hello, this is future me / editing me. Yeah, I found a way to fix the jitter problem that I had that I was talking about. Just install your game on an SSD rather than a hard drive, and that will make it so your game should run a lot smoother. I normally don't do this because I don't have a lot of space on my SSD, but because of this change, the game runs better smooth now, okay? Moving on to the story and characters. Without spoiling the story, I summarized the first 10 minutes of the story are somewhat good at getting your attention, with a beautiful opening sequence that leaves you with more questions and answers, and our first boss battle. Then you're ahead with the Bible of exposition and world building that's super boring. This unfortunately is kept up for a while until we meet Scar for the first time. His introduction directs a tone change within the storytelling, after which I honestly found the story does not fall off anymore, and it just keeps on getting better until we end the story of 1.0. Don't get the wrong idea, the story writing is not amazing in any way, shape or form, and it's simply passable and interesting later on. The story itself is definitely at its weakest at the very start, where you're hit with a lot of exposition. However, this is something that needs to happen, allowing your character to be more knowledgeable about the world they're in now. But while it does need to happen, the way they did it in the story is very bad, with you getting trinkets that you're supposed to decode to find out the truth about yourself. This is extremely boring and honestly feels a little bit childish. Look, I could go through the whole story and dissect it step by step, but honestly I'd rather not. This is not Berserk, this is not Vinland Saga, this is just a gacha game. The story is passable and that's all it needs to be. Unfortunately, the ending of 1.0 story feels a little bit abrupt, and hopefully they make the transition between story beats more smooth from this point on. If I had to give you any advice about the story, just enjoy it for what it is and don't try to overthink it. Personally, I think the story is saved by its characters. There's a large number of characters in this world that are very interesting just because of their design, and in some cases because of their backstory. As a quick example, Keltrao is a character that is very cool and I'm extremely curious about just because of their design. He looks like Sephiroth, and not only does he look like him, he also has the same voice actor in Japanese. Yunlin is a new character that's coming to the game, and they look really attractive. There are many other characters in this game that also look visually appealing. Honestly, after they redesigned most of the cast so that they look better, I was impressed with their commitment to really making the characters look good and unique. I remember there were a lot of people that were very unhappy with how some of the characters looked, but I think now the state of all the designs in the game are in a very good spot. Besides, the main character in this game, specifically the female one, is probably one of the best looking main protagonists that I've seen in a gacha game. I could even argue in games full stop. If you disagree, name me a better looking protagonist in the comments. As of me writing this script, there are 2 characters out within actual backstory quest, and they're not fully fleshed out or anything like that, they're just a little dive into the characters. One of these being the tiger boy Ling Yang, and the other one is our general Jin Yan. I personally think they did a good job with both of these, especially with the general. However, Ling Yan's story is good as well. By the way, if my pronunciation's bad, then my bad, okay? I'm not used to saying these kind of names. Even though I was not interested in Ling Yan's story in any way, shape, or form, I ended up enjoying the story. It did feel a little bit childish at some points.
I overheard them talking about where Beiji went. A loud bell ringing?
Oh jeez guys, do you know who the Jingle Beast is? And the opposite at some other points, where he tells a story about ripping his hair out so he looks more human.
That last Swanee might have yearned to become a human. To make itself more approachable, it first came up with a less intimidating name, something like the Jingle Beast. And then, It yanked off all its fur, filed down its claws, twisted its bones, and learned to stand upright.
This honestly caused a little bit of narrative whiplash. However, I still feel like they did a good job of making you care about the character for their own portion of the story, which is very important. I do believe they especially did a good job with Jian because he's a very key part of the main story, specifically at the end. You're able to start a quest after you're done with the main story that leads you to learning more about his character and backstory. Because they are right after each other, it feels as if you learn a lot more about him than you actually do. They try to emphasize his tender side, attempting to build his character up in a more round way in his personal quest. This is definitely done to emphasize his humanity and kind heart. There's one thing at the end of his quest that really caught my eye, this being that depending on which character you pick, the female or male rover, you get a different picture to commemorate the story. I absolutely love the attention to detail like this. Of course, we're going to use a different character model in this picture. However, I like how they made the aesthetic slightly different depending on what character you picked. The relationship is depicted slightly different in a way that I think is a very nice touch. Moving on to the visuals and the sound of the game. There's a lot of good visuals in this game, especially if you compare it with some other gacha games where you play chibi characters or the game is designed to be specifically on mobile, so they have to restrict the graphic quality. Even if you compare it to Genshin, a game that's designed to be very similar to Wuthering Waves, Wuthering Waves does a better job graphically. This game goes as far as to make your phone download more compressed textures so that your phone can operate better when playing this game. Obviously this is normal, however it's something that I recognize instantly when getting the game on my phone. In some areas with interesting lighting, I ended up taking game screenshots for fun. I normally don't do anything like this. However, as someone that does create digital art, I do appreciate good contrast and strong lighting. I even ended up editing some of them for fun. The in-game cutscenes are good, and some of them have very good visuals. A lot of the cutscenes are designed to look not that different from the game, which is a good choice that helps make better immersion and not break you away from what's happening. You're not put in a weird situation where you question why the scene looks so different from the rest of the game. The only time they change the art style is when Scar is telling you a story. However, I do believe they do a good job of using this difference to keep your attention. The only sad thing in my opinion is that you can actually skip this whole thing. This whole backstory of his, you can literally just skip it by going up to him and pretty much challenging him to fight. While they do a good job with the camera angles and action scenes, they do make the camera go behind people that are talking in some dialogue heavy cutscenes, which is annoying if you realize they're doing it. This might be a me problem, but when important characters are talking, the camera should be facing them or at least allowing the viewer to see their face. So while the visuals of the game are good, there's a big problem with the audio experience, especially the English voice acting. Yang has a super soft-spoken tone that over time made me hate her, and the rover speaks like an actual NPC with no life in all the lines she speaks.
You're not going anywhere.
What's wrong? Are you injured from the fight? You saw our sentinel in your memories? One can hardly see our sentinel with their own eyes. Most people only get the chance during the appointment ceremonies.
Let's look back on what we've gathered so far. Our clues point to the sugar pearl as a key in solving the sundial's puzzle. Simply put, one token can lead to multiple targets, and one target may hold...
It's some of the most frustrating stuff, especially when I know both the voice actors could have 100% done a better job, but the direction of the English voice acting came down to do whatever you'd like and you only have one take. Unfortunately, this is by far the biggest problem we have with the voice acting right now. The music is not bad quality and the game never has music that doesn't fit what's happening, but it's not memorable besides this one boss theme in my opinion. Besides the music not being memorable, there's just too much clutter. The sound effects in the game are taken away from the music, and while this might be too much work to fix this problem, they could create custom sound effects that work better with each theme song. This will help them complement each other rather than doing the opposite. If you don't like the English voice acting, I would advise you to swap to the Japanese voice acting. However, I do not believe that this is something we should have to do. Next, I'll be talking about the gameplay and the mechanics of the game. If current games gone anything correct, it was the gameplay and the mechanics. Every character is designed to have very different mechanics. This helps make every character unique and interesting to play. For a simple example, Daijin, she uses her own life force to do damage, and the lower health she has, the more damage she's able to do. We could pair her with a character called Jingjiang, She's able to give every character a shield. The shield will heal your allies, however this will also allow Daijin to stay low health without being killed. This will help her do more damage while also being a lot safer. There are also characters that will give an attack boost as soon as they are on the field, so you can just have them on the field and then take them away, so they provide the damage boost to your damage dealer. But these are just aspects of the characters. Honestly, the fundamental mechanics of the game are what really makes the game shine. We have mechanics like a parry system, a perfect dodge, and intro skills. When you learn how to use these with each other, it's super satisfying, especially when you learn a boss's movement pattern. You know you can parry an attack when a yellow circle is created that's also closing on another circle, which is indicative of the timing you're supposed to hit. This is especially important with bosses because it reduces their stagger meter, making them vulnerable for a while. Apparently you also take away 5% of their max HP every time you hit a perfect parry. However, I'm not sure about this. I haven't looked very deep into this, however, if it's true, it makes it possible to complete the whole game as a lower level if you like to flex your skill and torture yourself. Because I keep on seeing explanations on how to parry, I might as well tell you now. There's two main things that you need to know to perform a parry, and those are obviously the timing and the distance between you and the enemy. If the enemy is too far away and the timing is still correct, you will miss the parry because you are too far away from the enemy. I hope that helps. There are also exceptions to some rules. Some characters are able to counterattack or parry even though it is not according to the parry system, it's just an ability of theirs. An example of this is Tang Hui and Jiangxin. One of them is more designed for a passive counterattack so you don't take damage, while the other one is made mainly for offensive counterattack. So yeah, there's a lot of complexity for every character in the game. This is all without me talking about intro skills, another very important mechanic. While you're fighting, you'll be filling up a gauge, and this gauge will correlate to you being able to use an intro skill. This intro skill will simply put in another character on the field, however, this intro skill can either do more damage or possibly give a different passive effect. It's very important that you fill up the gauge and then you swap the character in, because it will also do stagger damage, allowing you to do even more damage whenever you break their guard. If you wish to swap in the character whilst there's also a parry that's being indicated, you will be able to do twice the stagger damage. You just need to make sure that the gauge is filled. The last but very important mechanic in this game are the echoes. These are monsters and bosses throughout this game that can be turned into echoes, aka Pokemon, that you're able to use in two ways. Either you can use an echo to add another skill to your character, or simply power up your character, increasing their overall stats. If you've ever played Genshin Impact or Honkai Star Rail, they're very similar to the relic system in those games. You're able to equip multiple echoes, however only one can be used as an ability, whilst the other ones are simply there to boost your stats. When you equip these echoes, you can get a set of them, giving you a very strong buff to your character if you have a full set. In reality, you should prioritize using the best set for your character as fast as possible, and then later getting the correct echoes. You have a 20% chance to get an echo, and depending on how high your databank level is, you can get higher rarity echoes. You level the databank by getting new echoes or getting higher rarity versions of ones you've gotten before. There is also an increased drop rate for bosses that you get every week. You get a total of 15 increased drop rate chances each week, so you can try farming one that helps with a character you have. There is also a method to get a higher drop rate for normal echoes, however I'm not going to go into that on this video. If you're interested in that, I'll leave a video made by mtashed in the description about this mechanic. They have introduced a quite interesting mechanic to the world exploration that allows you to complete a quest and then it will unlock an area of the map that you would not have access to normally. In some cases, this quest might even make it so the whole area changes entirely. Hopefully when new characters come out, they don't feel repetitive and they keep on making their playstyle unique. This might be a problem in the long term because obviously the more characters come out, the more creative they're going to have to get with the mechanics and how they play and feel. But honestly, this combat system is especially amazing for a game like this. I've never played a gacha game able to create such an in-depth core combat system that feels so good. It does feel like the gameplay systems were designed to put PC players first, lowering the priority of making this game playable for the mobile users. This leads me to talking about the user experience. There's a lot of clutter on your monitor when you're using a phone, and honestly I think it's a little overcrowded with all the different button options for both combat and movement. If you don't have a PC that allows you to play this game, it'll be a less enjoyable experience for you, 100%. I personally don't mind it when I'm just doing my daily quest, however going through the whole game would be hell in my opinion. Other than that, I don't personally have much of an opinion about the UI, especially for a gacha game. It feels normal having 6 buttons you can press to access every page. Your bag, your summoning page, and other things. While I do partially wish it was all in my escape menu, it's normal for these games to be a little bit messy. If you can't find something, just go to your escape menu. I say this because for a while I was unsure where my data bank was. I've spoken about the game's performance, and I do think it's okay most of the time. If you have a very good PC, you'll be fine, but if you have a cheap PC, you won't be able to play this game without it becoming an absolute fucking mess. As for mobile, it seems to be working fine, especially after they did all the fixes for day one. This is what the game looked like before. If your game still looks like this, just make sure to report the bugs, and hopefully they will fix it. Moving on to one of probably the biggest problems is its translation. So far, I don't believe it's been too much of a problem for the English side. However, there's been a big mistranslation on the Japanese side. This led to a lot of people spending money on a weapon that was not as good as it was described to be. There was also a problem with emails being leaked once again on the Japanese side. Kuro Games did give compensation for the mistake, however, that was still a big blunder on their part, with a lot of people not having a very good opinion of them even after they gave compensation. With all the mistakes they're making, they're consistently giving us compensation, pretty much saying sorry, we are trying our best. And I appreciate that from a developer personally, especially when I've played a lot of games that had bugs and the developers don't do anything to say sorry or compensate us players for having to experience them. As for the difficulty and balance of the game, I think it's hit a sweet spot in my opinion. If you are a casual, you can just play the game casually while enjoying the well-designed mechanics and not doing all the endgame content. If you are someone that's a hardcore player, you can enjoy the holograms that are part of the endgame content. There are bosses on crack that have new moves and stronger abilities that'll just one-shot you at the higher levels. Lastly, I'll be talking about the longevity and the social features of the game. A lot of these gacha games don't really have a fun way to play with your friends, but I do believe this one does. Those echoes that I spoke about before, you're able to farm them with your friends. Let's say you kill all the monsters in your world. You're able to join your friend and kill those monsters once again. If you and your friend are on the opposite sides of the map, you're able to kill the echoes. If your friend kills an echo, there's a possibility that you're able to pick it up as well. Therefore, you can literally increase the speed at which you farm echoes by 2 if you have a friend. If you really enjoy farming echoes with your friend, you can get another friend, and now there's 3 of you farming echoes at the same time, increasing the speed at which you're farming echoes by 3. Obviously, it's not something that I'm personally going to do, but if you are an absolute grinder, then this is an option. This game does a way better job of allowing you to play with your friends and making it rewarding compared to a lot of other gacha games. If you wish, you can open up your own world for randoms to join, and you can join randoms if you wish. However, I personally don't see much of a reason for it. It would be cool if in the future we could have an event that revolves around you going to other people's worlds and doing something together, but that could be a mess, so I don't know. When thinking about the longevity of this game, I do have hope. However, it does feel like a ticking time bomb right now, and Kuro Games are trying their best to defuse that fucking bomb. If not for the fact that they keep on trying their best to fix all the bugs and all the problems we as the consumers are having with the game, I would have written it off within the first 3 days and just waited for it all to be fixed one day, just like we all did with Genshin. For context, I myself enjoyed Genshin when it first released, of course, and I played it for a month straight, but as soon as that month went by, I knew things weren't going to be getting changed in the future at all, so I dropped the game, and I never came back. Because of all the problems that Wuthering Waves is having right now, I'm sure that there's a lot of people that are having a negative view of it. However, I think in the long term, this would be a #1 gacha game, at least for me. A big part of this is my own wishful thinking, to be fair. I hope this game becomes better and better, and it keeps on improving without there being any major issues in the future. However, that's something I cannot predict. Because this is a live service game, of course it's going to have longevity if you're looking at it from a content perspective. If you enjoyed this game in its current state, then it's only going to get better, in my opinion, with more events and more content. However, I am unsure how well it's going to be able to perform in the long term with retaining its audience. Currently, the game is doing phenomenally with the sales, and I just hope it keeps it up. If you're someone that's here for the hardcore gameplay only, you will probably drop this game after a month because of all the gameplay being finished up. You're just going to get through all of it, or you're just going to find it repetitive, honestly, after a while. The only reason why this will not happen is if you start actually enjoying other aspects of this game, like maybe the characters or the world that they're in. I could be wrong about this, but I do think a lot of the people that are only here for the combat are going to be quitting sooner than everybody else. Look, if you go to this part of the video, make sure to click on the subscribe button. This is my first time talking about a video game. Normally on this channel we talk about anime stuff, so I made a comprehensive review for you. Obviously it's not really like a review. I was kind of just talking about my opinions of the game, and I just hope it does well, you know what I mean? I don't know if I'll be making any other video game videos on this channel, but I might be. I don't know. Depends how I feel on the day, the week, or the month. I definitely think my next video is going to be about Frieren, the anime. That's like, that show just appeared out of nowhere. So good. If you think I've missed anything out or I could have talked about something else, just put it in the comments. If you like my opinion, I believe the whole game is clearable with any character in the game. So don't go get overwhelmed with all the different tutorials that are on the internet about the game. Have fun with the game and the characters you get. But on the other hand, if you want to be overwhelmed with information about the game and how to min-max every element of the game, then go look for those videos, but don't force people into that mindset. There you go. Just play the game, bro. Okay, just have fun. Just enjoy the fucking game. Don't make other people enjoy the game in your way. If you feel like I should talk about something else, like, I don't know, maybe an anime that you like, or maybe a game that you like, perhaps put it in the comments. I might think about it. You never know, I might make a video about it, honestly. If you don't know, this is a channel that's shared between me and my friend. We've been gone for almost a year from YouTube, and that's because of university. For all of you Americans, that's college. We were focusing on our coursework, making sure that we get the work done. Anyone that's watching this video that's subscribed to our channel that doesn't want to watch our videos, just make sure to unsubscribe. I would rather have people unsubscribe than have fake numbers in any way, shape, or form. But if you're a legend and you wish to keep on watching our stuff, then stay tuned. I should be releasing more videos, and also we are trying to make an art channel. I'll be mainly in control of this channel, and my friend will be mainly focusing on the art channel. However, he'll still be making videos for this channel in his free time. Is there anything else you wish to know? Make sure to leave a comment. I'll respond if it's not stupid. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. And I'll see you in the next video, hopefully. Hi, peace.